I'd like to welcome you all to our annual meeting for San Diego City Employees Retirement System, your retirement system. I'm Cynthia Queen, and I'm the Member Services Director, and I'm very pleased to have you all here today. As you know, we represent the 3 plan sponsors, and we have members here from all 3, I believe. We have the Port of San Diego represented. We have Donald up here, yay. We have the County Airport Authority, and we have our City of San Diego represented as well. So today, we of course want to share with you information about your retirement system. And to kick it off, I'd like to introduce you to our Chief Executive Officer, Mark Hovey.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and see several familiar faces. There are a few of you that I didn't see last year, so welcome. I think there's even a 4-legged friend here today, so we're welcoming that guy as well. This is our 7th annual meeting, and we believe it's a wonderful opportunity for you to get an update from not only me, but several of our staff members here on what's been going on with the pension system. So with that, we'll get into it, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the windshield and the rear view mirror. That's really another way of saying what happened this past year, what's been the rear view mirror, and what's coming up for the coming year in 2014. So first of all, recapping some of our accomplishments from the past year, we launched a new pension system, which we call the Integrated Retirement Information System, or IRIS. And this really brings our internal operating software current with the latest technologies. It's much more closely integrated with other systems like our general ledger system, where we're not having to manually re-enter data from one system to another. It allows for work that our benefits administration staff is doing that formerly done manually. It's automatically integrated with our software. So these are internal efficiencies, which of course are more exciting to my staff perhaps than you as a retired or an active member, but it does make us more efficient internally. But we not only brought that system online, I'm proud to report that we brought it online on time and on budget. That's hard to do all the time, and with an IT project, it took us 3 years to put it in place. We estimated it would take us between $6 and $7 million, and that's about right where it came in on. So very pleased that we landed that one on time. Second accomplishment I wanted to talk about in the past year is we launched a new website. This came online in July of 2014, and it really has more enhanced functionality, and it's easier for you to navigate the website. Our communications manager says that we might have taken 5 clicks to get something on drop information before when you got onto our website, and now you can get to most anything you're looking for in a click or 2. So more information on our home page. If you're a San Diego County Regional Airport Authority member and you want to find information on your system, you can get at that right on the home page, where before it took a little while to find that. So we're excited about that. Another thing that the new website does is it adapts to you looking at the information on a mobile device. So for those of you who enjoy surfing the web on your smartphone or an iPad or something like that, the website will automatically adjust the content of our website so that it reads appropriately on your handheld device. So, and if you're not into all that mobile surfing, once again, it's a much more intuitive, easier to read website. We have an interactive calendar on the website as well. So a number of you probably maintain your appointments on a paper calendar. Some of you actually use your smart device to do that. We have our board meetings, retirement seminars, and other key events which are on an electronic calendar on our website. And you can click on that event in our website and it'll pull that directly into your mobile device. Handy feature. A third thing I'd like to talk about is our new member portal. And if this is starting to sound a bit like a broken record, that's good. That means you've been hearing about this. We have approximately 5,000 of our members who are now on the member portal. That's about 25% of our membership. And for an active city employee, one of the benefits of this new portal is it allows you to generate very accurate retirement benefit estimates, which are almost spot on with what you will ultimately get when you retire. We used to have a very crude instrument that gave you an estimate or a guesstimate of what your retirement benefit would be, and now this provides much more accurate data. But retired members would also benefit from looking at the portal with some of the features there. The monthly retirement benefit advice that you get now has more information about your monthly benefit and in an easier to read format than what you formerly saw when you were on the WIMBA portal. So improved functionality there. Also, if you wanted to make any tax withholding changes on whatever your benefit would be, those tax withholding changes now are incorporated immediately into our payroll system. There's not another manual re-enter by a back person staff handling that function. So it works more effectively. So moving off some of the operational stuff and talking about investments, we had another very solid investment year. Liza Krisofi, our Chief Investment Officer, will be talking to us shortly, going into more details, but I just want to say that we were a little over 17% last year, and that's a performance that was just outstanding. But you should also understand, and if you've been coming to these meetings before and you've heard me speak, you know that I say you need to focus on the long term. And when you focus on the long term, as we have, our returns are a little over 9%, so also very strong. One of the accomplishments last year that we're especially proud of is Reuters News Agency commissioned a survey on private equity performance. And for those of you not familiar with private equity are investments that SD SURS makes in companies who are not trading their stock on a public exchange like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. So it's direct investments in a private company. And it's a little hard to evaluate who's really the most successful in that, because the publicly traded companies obviously have their information available for everyone to look at, and private companies do not. So Reuters commissioned a survey on not just who the most successful private equity firms were, but they said, who are the most successful public pension systems that are partnering with private equity firms? And they surveyed 160 public pension plans from across the United States, and we came in #1. So great accomplishment. Yes, thank you. So again, you'll hear from Liza shortly. Her Chief Investment Officer, or not chief, or deputy, he's not a deputy, Senior Investment Officer, thank you. Corey's going to be so embarrassed. Corey Bujuan is our Senior Investment Officer over our private equity program, and he's really the one that gets the credit for that. You know, someone reminded me there's only one place to go when you're ranked #1. It may be hard to stay there, but we're enjoying a very good year nonetheless. And then a last accomplishment for the past year, really, SURS has come a long way in the area of corporate governance. I have 6 staff members who in the past year were panelists or speakers at conferences not only within the state of California but also around the country. It's someone that spoke back in Washington, D.C., someone that spoke in New Orleans, Louisiana. So I've got a very competent staff who are sought out by their peers in their areas to speak at other conferences. So I think we're doing very well there. Additionally, in the past year, there's a local California public pension organization called CalPERS, which focuses on educational opportunities for staff members and trustees, and also communications and networking. And I joined the board of that group in this past year to be a little bit more connected in the California community. So that's the rearview mirror. What's in the windshield? Customer service focus. It goes without saying that in a member-intensive business like we are in, that membership is who we work for. We don't forget the fact that you, the 20,000 members of SD SURS, are our #1 fiduciary responsibility. We work for you guys. We try very hard to keep that front and center every day with our staff. But we're trying to raise our game and do even more in this upcoming year. A couple of things we're doing is to take surveys and more surveys to make sure that we're capturing the right information on how we're doing. One of the ways we're doing that is we're conducting website surveys now. I talked about the new website. If you're on our new website, there's an easy-to-click survey that you can complete. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you think we can do better. Christina DeLeva, our communications manager, will get right on that. Our member services director, Cynthia Queen, is ensuring now that whenever a member comes in and has a one-on-one counseling appointment with Jerry Kapotic or Mateo Osorio or two member services counselors, that you're given an opportunity to fill out either on a manual survey form or again online on our website, a member services experience feedback. We're always looking to do better. Here's an opportunity for you to show us how. Thirdly, we conducted, at least in my 7 years with the retirement system, we conducted our first employee opinion survey. So we have a little over 50 employees that work for SD SURS, and so we asked them, how are we doing? What do you like about working at SD SURS, and what do you think we could do better? So a good information came back from that. Lourdes Silva, who was our human resources manager, will be presenting the summary results of that employee opinion survey at our upcoming board meeting on November 14th. Performance metrics. Yes, we want to set metrics and evaluate our progress. And one of the departments that's leading the pack in that is our, again, member services department. We are tracking how many phone calls we get in, which is a quantitative metric, but not really a performance or qualitative performance metric. So now we're looking at how long does it take us, on average, to answer the phone. And we've written about this in our Scoop newsletter, but it's approximately 20 seconds. Not everyone's average, but on average, it's taking us about 20 seconds to answer the phone. If you get on the phone and it takes longer and you get fed up and you hang up, we actually have systems that will track who hung up, and then Antonio Roberti will call you back. So I challenge you, if you think SURS is not answering the phone or doesn't call you back, let me know, because we are very concertedly focusing on just that metric. Online retirement applications is another thing that we want to do this coming year to focus on customer service. When active members come in for a retirement appointment, there's a lot of information they need to cover. Much of this can be done offline from an in-person appointment and online in our retirement system. This doesn't mean that we're going to be making it harder for active members to come in and talk with us, but it just makes our retirement application process more efficient. A second focus area for the coming year will be website videos. We've just gotten underway with this. We have a couple videos on our website now, but we want to do more of them. Much of the information that we've historically shared with you on how to get health care done and how to file a purchase service request or whatever has all been done on paper. And we're going to be doing a series of videos on our website that I think you will find useful. For example, how to read your pay stub. You might find it surprising how many phone calls our call center gets on how to read a pay stub. We're going to have a video that walks you through that. Member portal tips. We've been talking about the portal. As I said, we've got over 5,000 people that have signed up. They have questions about how to navigate that portal. We'll have a video that gives you tips on the best way to do that. Retiree Health Open Enrollment. You know, we have an open health, or we have a Open Health Retiree Health Day each year where we go through information, but now we'll actually have a video online that will help explain what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Changing beneficiaries. If you're an active member and you want to change your beneficiary, we'll show you how to do that. And annual statements, we're going to be sending out, these again to active members, we'll be sending out annual statements and kind of walking them through how to read your annual statement. So good videos coming up. Continuing a focus on investment excellence. You know, I said we've done good things, but we can't rest on our laurels on investment excellence. We need to continue to do a great job focusing on our program. One of the things we're going to be doing this coming year is rebidding our general investment consultant contract. So Liza Krisafi and her team They work very capably with about 35 external money managers, but we also have a consultant that comes in and helps keep us honest on how do we approach our investing business. So we're going to, as a measure of good governance, rebid our existing contract with the firm called Hewitt Ennis Knupp and see if there's someone else that's got a different version of consulting model and at a different cost level that may be better than the one that we have. So we're going to rebid that. Another thing we're going to do, which is not on the chart, is we're going to take a look at a few more opportunistic investments. I said we focus on the long term, right? We focus on generating returns for money that we are managing for people for 30, 40, 50, 60 years sometimes. But there are occasionally opportunities in the investment world where you might get a very attractive return if you invested from 4, 5, 6, 7 years, what I'm calling intermediate term investment opportunities. So we have about 8% of our portfolio that looks at these opportunistic items, and we're going to be looking at a couple more of these opportunities for us in the coming year. And then we're going to revisit asset rebalancing. Now, I know that's a technical term here, but you've heard the old analogy about don't put all your eggs in one basket. The investment lingo term for that is asset allocation. How much money do you have in stocks? How much money do you have in bonds? How much money do you have in real estate? And we do that, but with the very strong equity markets that we've seen over the last 3, 4 years, the size of our equity holdings has grown. And if you were to look at how much do we have in stocks as a percent of the total now versus how much did we have in stocks as a percentage of the total a few years ago, you need to make sure that you're always adjusting and selling off stocks and reinvesting in bonds to making sure that you're balanced. And we've got a very sophisticated modeling tool that helps us with that process, and we're going to look at that again. Finally, leading in pension governance. We're going to do audits of the auditor. We have an internal auditor at SD SIRS, a gentleman named Lee Paravano, who's here. And you may not know that of the 40 or so public California pension systems, there are only a handful of systems that have an internal auditor looking at operationally, do you have the right controls in place to manage the risks that you're facing on a day-to-day basis. In fact, it's only the biggest systems that have an internal auditor. We may be the smallest retirement system in the state of California that has an internal auditor. But we're not content with just having one. We want to make sure Lee's doing the right thing. So we're going to do an audit on Lee's work, which is called a peer review, and have people come in and take a look at the work that he's doing as well. So I think it just sets us apart in terms of ensuring we've got good corporate governance in how we manage our business risks. In terms of increased transparency, for 6 years or so now, we have done recordings of our general board meeting every month. And you could go on to the SD SIRS website and look at a video recording of that board meeting. Well, we now only are not going to do video recordings of our board meeting, we are going to do video recordings of our business and governance committee meeting, which is where a lot of the more detailed work is done in the governance areas that I've been talking about today. And we're not only going to do videos of those, we're going to do live streaming of these 2 meetings. So you could be watching them live if you want, if it's not convenient for you to be in our offices watching them in person. So a number of retirees very effectively made their case to our board, and our board approved that, so we're excited about this debuting in the month of November. And much like only a handful of systems in the state of California have an internal auditor, there are only a handful of systems in the state of California that videotape and do live streaming of their board meetings, and now we'll be one of them. So I think we're doing as much as we can and looking to do more on making sure that we are an open and transparent system. So that's the windshield. And with that, I would like to introduce Elaine Reagan, who's our Deputy Chief Executive Officer over Legal and Compliance and Legal Operations. Sorry about that, Elaine.
Thank you, Mark. Hard act to follow here. Thank you all for being here. We have a good turnout, and it's so nice to see you come and show an interest in SD SERS. I'm here today to just give you a brief update on a few of the things that we've been doing in legal over the past year. I think one of the most important things that we managed to accomplish this past year was the settlement of the UAL litigation, also known as the substantially equal case. Some of you may have heard of this, but for those who haven't, I'll give you a little bit of background on the case. There's a provision in the city charter called the substantially equal requirement that basically says that the city and its employees will share substantially equal in the cost of normal retirement allowances. That language, or language very similar to it, has been in the city charter since the creation of SD SERS. And since the creation of SD SERS, the retirement system has always interpreted that to apply only to what we call the normal cost for normal retirement allowances. Normal cost is what it costs for the benefits that you have earned in this year of employment. SERS has never interpreted that language to apply to the UAL, or what we would call the gains and losses due to investment or actuarial assumptions. So in 2009, SERS experienced a pretty big investment loss, and at that point in time, the city attorney interpreted the substantially equal requirement to apply to those investment losses. And it was the city attorney's opinion, which differed from SD SERS's opinion, that those losses must be shared with the employees and that they should pick up 50% of those losses. The city attorney sought authorization from council and received it to file a writ of mandate in the Superior Court, naming SD SERS as a defendant. SD SERS was the sole defendant. We stepped up and defended the action. The unions representing the various bargaining units of the city employees also requested and received authorization from the court to intervene and joined in the defense of that action with SD SERS against the city attorney's interpretation of that requirement. In the meantime, while the case was going on, Mark and I worked behind the scenes to educate city officials on exactly what the interpretation of the substantially equal requirement should be, and the kind of very disastrous effect this would have on employees if the city attorney were to prevail in that litigation. Ultimately, after a few years, the city council did agree to settle the case. The settlement was a dismissal of the action without prejudice, and codification of SD SERS's longstanding interpretation of the city charter in an ordinance that the city council enacted. And one of the very strong safeguards that we got in that ordinance was actual language in the ordinance stating that it could not be amended or repealed absent meet and confer with the bargaining units. You won't see that in any other ordinance dealing with the retirement system, but it's in this one, and we were very proud to get that in the ordinance as an additional safeguard. Thank you. So finally, after several years, that case is done, closed, and over with, and we hope never to see it again. The second thing that we accomplished this year is our Cycle C filings and tax determination letters. You may have realized that in 2008, SD SERS received tax determination letters from the IRS for all three plan sponsors, city, port, and airport. A tax determination letter is, in essence, a good housekeeping seal of approval from the IRS. It says that the IRS has reviewed your plan document and found that all of the provisions within the document meet the requirements of the Internal Revenue Code and the Treasury regulations. Those tax determination letters are good for 5 years, and the ones that we received in 2008 expired at the end of 2013. So Cycle C is the current filing process. It was 2014 is when we filed our Cycle C filing, and basically you go through the process all over again. We had to provide the IRS with a copy of the plan document, in other words, the municipal code for the city and the plan document for the airport. The port decided to wait until the Cycle E filing, which is 2016, and that's perfectly appropriate. They can do that without causing any risk to the plan's qualification. So the city and the airport plans were submitted in Cycle C filing. We also submitted to the IRS all of the plan amendments that have been made to both plans. That incorporated the PEPR provisions for the airport and Prop B and other amendments that have been made since 2008 to the city filings. The IRS has finished those reviews, and we now have 2 new tax determination letters for the airport and the city that are good until the end of 2019. And SD-CERS will ensure that each year or each cycle period, we will file these renewals for our tax determination letter in order to continue to ensure the plan qualification. It's important to have that plan qualification because that allows you to make your contributions to the retirement plan on a pre-tax basis. It's also important to keep that plan qualification, and that kind of segues into the next bullet point. Now that we have kind of the stamp of approval from the IRS on the plan documents, you also have to ensure to keep the plan qualification that you administer the plan in accordance with the plan documents and Treasury regulations. And so to ensure that we're doing that, last year we instituted a tax compliance review. Our outside tax counsel came in, interviewed staff, looked at our processes to determine that the processes that we're applying meet Treasury regulations and are in compliance with the language in our plan documents. There were several recommendations that came out of that review. They were all minor. It wasn't that they found we were doing anything wrong, but tax counsel recommended that we do certain things to clean up our board rules or our internal processes just to make for an improved process and make it a little bit cleaner and clearer. Those recommendations have now been implemented. And so we will continue as we go forward to periodically request these reviews from our outside tax counsel and follow through with any recommendations that they make. And so that's it for as far as the legal report. With that, I'd like to introduce Ted LaSalvia, who is SD-CERS's controller.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ted LaSalvia, and I'm the controller and head of the finance division for SD-CERS. This is my first year to present before you, and I'm happy to do so. The finance division is responsible for the full financial accounting of the pension system for all 3 plan sponsors. We present monthly financial statements, and annually we present the CAFR. And of course, probably near and dear to your hearts, we're responsible for the payment of retirement benefits. And with that, I'm pleased to announce that the system qualifies for the payment of the 13th check in Corbett benefits for this fiscal year. Why did I have this feeling that you were waiting for that announcement? A couple of other items that are more award recognition worthy for the group. SD-CERS has won the 2013 GFOA Award for Financial Reporting Excellence on our CAFR for the 6th straight year and on our PAFR document that gets mailed out to everybody for the 5th straight year. One of the things that Mark also mentioned briefly was the discussion of the IRS system. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the IRS system, but I can tell you from somebody who has been with SD-CERS for a relatively short time in comparison to the other members of the leadership team, the information availability to answer your questions in a timely and efficient manner is by no means harder than what we had with the old system. In fact, it is light years ahead in terms of our response time to get answers back to the member services group or to the benefits administration group, whoever you may be dealing with within the organization. And with that, I think I've covered the important elements for my presentation, and I'd like to introduce Liza Krisafi, our Chief Investment Officer.
Good morning. Well, Mark pretty much covered my presentation, so that's it. Just kidding. Obviously, last year we had a very good year in terms of the performance of the portfolio. The short-term numbers, the 3- and the 5-year numbers are still very strong at over 10% and over 13%. The 10-year number at 7.7 is still a good number, and keep in mind that does include the market drawdown of 2008-2009. But again, we are long-term in our view on investments, and the long-term return number that we're showing is 9.4%, and that's over about a 25-year period. Just some highlights for the year that I'd like to cover. U.S. stocks were the strongest performer for the year, followed by international stocks, basically due to modest global economic growth and monetary easing, certainly in Europe. All asset classes had positive returns for the year, which was good. And private equity, as Mark mentioned, which is a newer asset class for SD SIRS, had very strong results for the year. The next slide shows the historic market values of the portfolio. And as you can see, in the 2008-2009 period, we had a significant drawdown. The market value of the portfolio got down to about $3.7 billion. Obviously, we've fully recovered that. At the end of the fiscal year, we were at $6.7 billion. And we've actually had a few days in July where we were over $7 billion, but the market's pulled back a little. We'll get there one of these days. And then just a couple of things that we've done in the investment department during the course of the year. As Mark had mentioned, we had increased the weighting in private equity from 5% to 10%, and we're still building out that allocation. As he also mentioned, our private equity program was just ranked the #1 program in the country, and that's due to a lot of hard work by staff, Corey Bujuan, who really challenges our consultants every day to bring us the best private equity ideas. They'll bring 3 ideas, and he's like, these are all good ideas, I want one great idea. So we challenge them to really bring us good ideas, and that's resulted in this good ranking. Then we also hired 2 emerging market managers, Neuberger Berman for emerging market equity and Investec Asset Management for emerging market debt. And that's basically to bring those weightings up to a market weight. And then we also made some new commitments in the Opportunity Fund, and that basically is the bucket where it can be up to 8% of the portfolio. It's sourced 78% from return-seeking assets, 22% from risk-mitigating assets. And it can be strategies that are shorter term in nature, or it could be strategies where it doesn't fit neatly anywhere else in the portfolio. We did in the last year, we made 3 commitments to opportunistic real estate. And opportunistic real estate basically are real estate investments where you're generating your return not only from income, but also from appreciation, because the managers are doing things like refurbishing buildings, releasing buildings, and there might be some development. And we felt there was a good opportunity there to invest in some of that. We also made a 2% allocation to a global credit fund. That fund is going to be investing in basically corporate debt and mortgage debt in the U.S. and Europe, and we felt that was an attractive opportunity. So during the course of the coming year, we will be looking at additional opportunities for the Opportunity Fund and bringing those forth to the board. And then the last slide is basically our target asset allocation as of the end of the fiscal year. And you can see we divide it into return-seeking assets and risk-reducing assets. On the return-seeking side, we have all the equities, global equities, international equities, U.S. equity, emerging market debt. We also put real estate and private equity in there. And then the risk-mitigating asset class is basically core U.S. investments in bonds. So it's a very conservative component of the portfolio. We review this asset allocation on an annual basis, and this last year we decided not to make any changes because we felt we were well positioned going forward. Now, one thing I would like to say is we've had 5 years of very good positive returns. We know markets can be challenging, and we probably will have some down years in the markets. But I want to assure you that in the investment department, we're really focusing on a long-term outlook. We're focusing on having a very diversified portfolio to protect against equity risk, and basically being very conservative and having a rigorous and disciplined investment process. So that wraps up my comments, and I'd like to introduce Cynthia Queen.
Hello again. I appreciate those of you who have turned in questions, although they appear to be mostly for me, so I hope you're enjoying listening to me speak. But if you are thinking of some other questions, Christina's right over here, and we'll be glad to get those from you. Now, I want to talk to you about some things that I knew you'd be interested in. Mark mentioned that we have a new and dynamic website, and we've put a lot of work into really refreshing this website and making it include the features that folks had asked about. One of the most important features that I want to encourage you to check out today is a new feature called email subscriptions. If you have a particular interest in, say, what's going on at the board meetings or with retiree health or with our newsletter information and other specific topics, instead of going and looking on our webpage, you could have this information sent directly to you when it first comes out. If you go on our webpage and select the email subscriptions, it's a one-step process where you just fill out a form, and then Christina pushes some magic buttons behind the scenes, and whenever that information is, as soon as that information is ready, she will shoot that out to your email inbox, and you will have it when it's first available. For example, if you're someone who likes to follow what goes on with the board meetings, and you're trying to remember, oh, when is that board agenda going to be posted? Like Joe Flynn, he has this memorized, but this is a feature that was designed for Joe. So Joe is eagerly awaiting when that board agenda comes out. And so now Joe can have it just directly sent to his email box, and then you could probably even program your email to say, Joe, you've got mail, your board agenda is here. And then you have the information as soon as it's available. So I'd like to encourage you to check out that feature if there are certain topics that you're liking to follow. Now, we've already had several hundred members sign up for this, but we continue to add topics if there are particular interests that you have. So we want to hear from you. The website was done with your feedback in mind, and so if you do have suggestions for us, please let us know. And I want to remind you that our Board of Administration meets every 2 months. Those board meetings are certainly open to you to come and attend, but as we've stated, you can see them on our website, you can watch them live streamed, you can watch them late at night, you can watch them on City TV. We just want to make sure that you're informed. That's why we're here. We want to make sure that you're aware of the tools that are available to you. And as many of you probably know, either because you have your own Facebook account or perhaps you're talking to your kids who have a Twitter account or something. Social media is quite mainstream, so of course we have all these features as well, and we would love it if you would like us on Facebook. Really, I would love it if you would do that. It makes me happy. Now, I wanted to just give you a quick peek of what the website looks like on the new front page. One of the most important things we want to do is make it easier to navigate, and we want to make sure that everybody is finding their information. So as you can see up there, we have the specific areas that are for members from the city, from the port, and from the airport. So one way that you might like to navigate through it is just go directly to whoever you are. I am from the port, and I am retired, and you're just going to click straight to that button, and it'll take you into the information that specifically applies to your benefits. Of course, if your purpose is to look at the board information or perhaps the latest news and events, that's all clearly marked as well. Again, if you have any difficulty finding something or you're interested in a new feature in having added, please give us a call or send us a message on the website under Contact Us, because we do want to hear from you. This is a living entity that we're always working on, and we really do appreciate your feedback on that. Then I'd like to talk to you about a piece of that website, which is our member portal. It's much like going in and looking at your own bank account information on your bank account's website. This is to give you the specific status of your account. Of course, if you are an active member, you might be looking at your service credit or a benefit estimate, and if you're retired, as we discussed, you very likely would want to go and look at what your pension check pay stub says. You can also look at tax withholding updates and direct deposit updates. Now, so far, actually got some updated numbers just this morning, Mark. We've had more than 6,000 members register on the portal. Now, our goal and a personal challenge between Christina and I is to have every single member registered for the member portal. Now, in order to get there, we understand that we need to provide assistance to you. Some folks may need, would like a walkthrough, and some folks may, if you had some kind of a glitch that you're experiencing on your end, we want to help you through that. So please let us know. Please either call the call center or send us a message. We really do want to work through any issues you might be having. We want this to be completely member-friendly, and we want it to be serving you. So I always appreciate your feedback on that. And I wanted to mention, excuse me for glancing at my notes, but I wanted to mention that if you are into using the internet, if you are like all those social media options, those are great, but please, we've got a full staff that is dedicated all day long to answering your phone calls, and we would always be happy to talk to you in person or to have you come down and visit us at the office. We like to reach you in any way that is most comfortable for you. This is just a quick look at what the member portal initial page looks like if you haven't seen it, and you can see where you would either log in or register for the first time. If you had been registered on the previous site, but not on this one, you will need to register here, and then after that, you'll just go to the login page. All right. Now, sorry if some of those photos aren't perfectly crisp, but we've got some of our celebrities in the audience here. Sylvia, I've got you in there, and got some fun folks up there and some of our own staff. Wanted to put our best face forward and remind you of how much we do enjoy working with you all and wanting to share with our information with you. And this slide is particularly addressed to looking at the health services that we provide. This is a main area of questions that we receive. Now, we process the health for City of San Diego retirees who are eligible. We perform some deductions for our other plan sponsors, but specifically right now I'm addressing the city retirees. So the City of San Diego administers the retiree health, and each year they let us know what those specific benefits will be, and then SD-CERS processes those benefits. We process the reimbursement for folks. We sign folks up for the city-sponsored plans, which are HealthNet and Kaiser, and we hold the annual open enrollment period when, in the month of June, when members sign up for their health care. Additionally, as part of that, we have the annual Help Day, which is where some of these photos came from, that is held right here in this room, where we pack this place with the various vendors and in providing information on health care. And I appreciate that that is a major focus of what the questions are about. So we have continually been working to not only improve the services that we provide here, but also to increase our knowledge and everyone else's understanding of what is available and this ever-changing thing that is healthcare. And I'm sure for many of you, you've thought, oh boy, I got to go out and look at, is this the best way? Am I getting the best deal for myself? I think everybody feels that way, and I would just encourage you to really take a few moments to do a little homework for yourself. Now, I wanted to address a specific couple topics that I get a lot of questions on. There are different tiers of healthcare, of course, for folks depending on when they retired, and a number of folks who retired prior to 2009 ask a question that is, does the city fully pay my health care, or what's going on with my allowance that I am receiving? And there's, it's a continuing education process of trying to make sure that folks are aware of how that allowance works. So I wanted to specifically point out that it is in the municipal code under section 24.1202B2. There's a quiz on that later. Okay, remember that one. And that is addressing how the city covers health care, okay? Now, what it states is that the annual allowance is going to cover, is going to look at a the maximum allowance is going to be adjusted annually based on the projected increase by the federal government, and that no adjustment will exceed 10%. Lots of times I hear the question, where is my 10% escalator or the 10% increase? And the code in that section specifically says that the adjustment is going to be up to 10%, and how it determines that amount is by looking at the various indices that are set by the federal government and looking at what that projected increase is. Over the past years, that projected increase has been between 5 and 7%. For example, last year the increase was 6%, but the increase in the premiums for the main health care providers went up 9%. So the increase that was given to you didn't match that, and folks saw, for some folks for the first time, saw an amount being taken out of their paycheck to cover that difference. So we want folks to understand what their allowance is, how their health care works, and we are here to answer those questions. We would welcome you to view the website, which has a lot of information on it, but also to call us, come in and meet with our staff, and attend the help day that we have. Additionally, because we understand that these questions continue, we have been working very closely with the retiree associations in order to look at what type of outreach would best serve our members. In each year when we prepare materials and throughout the year when we're looking at materials that we want to provide to members, I actually send an advanced draft to my key counterparts in the retiree associations to have them proofread and give me feedback on what the material says so that I can really understand it from the user's perspective. I am not quite eligible for Medicare yet, but I have friends who are. And so with these, the letters that we send out and the healthcare booklet, I have really appreciated the retiree groups in giving their feedback and how those materials can be improved and how the process can be improved. And I'd really like to give a shout out to the Retired Employees Association, Retired Fire and Police, the Retiree Issues Task Force for their incredible attention to this matter and for actually helping us change and improve the nuts and bolts processes that we go through, trying to make it easier for folks to be able to sign up for their health care, get their reimbursements, and even just to understand the process. We're looking toward this year at having some joint workshops where we have them on specific topics related to health care to help folks understand, for example, Medicare or the California Covered, the Affordable Care Act, and how you can go outside and perhaps go outside of the city-sponsored plans and look for perhaps another option that you might find more affordable to you, and then be reimbursed if you are eligible to be reimbursed through your city allowance. So again, really would like your feedback if you have some ideas of how we could help or an idea for an improvement in the materials that we do provide for you. Now, I've mentioned that I'd love it if you would give us a call if you're not feeling like looking on the internet that day, and that is our main phone number, as it has been for quite some time, the 619-525-3600. And this is where we will answer your phone call in presumably less than 20 seconds, and we will ensure that we get you an answer, and we will ensure that we get back to you. We have an intricate system where we can track which phone calls have been answered immediately and those that need follow-up. And it's very important to me that your questions are answered. So please do let us know if you have any constructive feedback for us. For those who are not yet retired, we have seminars that we offer to try and give you some advanced information about what you can expect when you are going to retire, and to give an overview so that you're best suited when you come in for that one-on-one session with your counselor to look at exactly what you're going to do with your decisions there. So we have an active slate of those, and Mia Alomar back here is in charge of those seminars, and we've had a great response from our active employees. For the port and the airport, we go over to their offices and hold the meetings over there. For the city folks, we have them at our office, and we also go out to specific locations for the city employees because we want to be able to make it as convenient as possible for folks to know what's going on. I've already gone on and on about how much I love my retiree groups and how closely we work with them all, but if we could just really quick give you guys a quick hand. Retiree associations. I had to make sure I got applause in my part because everybody else did. But I just really appreciate that feedback. These are your advocacy groups, and on your way out, if you haven't already joined up with one of those groups, I would really encourage you to stop by and speak with them, even if you are not yet retired and you just want to find out about what's going on in the future. And for those who are actively in the DROP program right now, you can join the associations now as well. Now, I have 3 important things that I want you all to remember. One of them is a clue up there, but 3 things that I really want you to take away from today, in addition to the fact that Liza is really awesome with our investments. I want you to check out our member portal so you can know what's going on with your account. I want you to check in with the retiree associations, and I want you to confirm your beneficiaries. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can check on the portal, and you can also call us or check or stop in. And we want to make sure that you have all the information for your future planning. Now, we're going to move into the question and answer part of our program, and there are some questions that relate to a few of the things I've just said right now that I will emphasize when we get to that part. Give you some time to absorb all that information I've just shared with you. So I appreciate everyone who has turned in a question card. If there are any others who would like to get those now, we'll move on to this part. Thank you, Christina. Oh, yay, it's not for me. All right, Liza, we want to know what's going on with you. So, I'm going to repeat the question, of course, so you'll know what the question is, and then I will let you know who's going to answer over here. And the first question for Liza is, hold on. Okay, now that SD SERS has been ranked #1 for the private equity program, have there been others that are requesting the services of SD SERS? And I think by others they mean other agencies who are reaching out to us.
The short answer is no, but the longer answer is that we've been getting more interest from other public pension plans in how we've constructed our private equity program. Because when we started investing in private equity back in 2009, we didn't follow a traditional model, which is what the consultants were recommending. Basically, they wanted to come to us with a pie and say, how much do you want in buyouts? How much do you want in large buyouts? How much do you want in venture capital? And we said, that's not how we want to approach it. We want to be completely opportunistic, and we want to avoid the J curve, which is basically in the early years when you're investing where you lose money. And so we tasked our consultants with that, and obviously it's been very successful. We've earned positive returns since the inception of the program in 2009. We are getting requests to speak at conferences. I'm speaking at a conference in December up in San Francisco about our private equity program and how we've structured it.
Thank you, Liza. I'm going to take the next question. Person asked, is it advisable to bring a financial advisor to your retirement meeting as you're preparing to retire? And how should we prepare for that meeting? You are welcome to bring your financial advisor along if you would like to. You most certainly don't have to. We do, on occasion, see folks bring in the financial advisor either with which they already have some other investments or with perhaps they're thinking of moving some of their drop account money there, for example. You are welcome to bring your grandkids and your family as well. So we sometimes do have to bring in extra chairs to the meetings. But in order to prepare for the retirement session, we encourage folks, of course, to attend a pre-retirement seminar, and then to bring along the information for their beneficiaries that they are planning to select. And if you have a spouse or someone that you're considering for your continuance, it's always a good idea to bring that person along too. And if you have any other questions, we would welcome you to check the website or call in advance of coming to that meeting. And related to that question, someone asked, please address the Social Security and how that plays in with the retirement benefit. Of course, many city employees did not pay into Social Security, but some folks worked in the private sector, paid into Social Security, and have earned enough credits to qualify for that. One of the things we let you know in a retirement session is that you will let the Social Security office know the amount of your benefit that you are estimated to be receiving from SD-SURS, and they'll let you know if there's any sort of adjustment that might be made to your Social Security benefit. So it's a simple sharing of information. Okay? Now, I have a question for Mark Hovey. Mark, this question is related to the amount of the annual cost of living adjustment that is paid out when eligible each year. The question is, this is from a person who retired in December of 2012. Why is it that some of us get 1.5% COLA instead of a 2% COLA?
The municipal code provisions for cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, you might think that it's an automatic 2% that you would get every year, and that's actually not what the code says. The code says that you could get up to 2%, but we need to consult what the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, has been for the past year. So if you retired in 2014, for example, in March of 2014, the CPI as of June of 14 for the last 12 months was 1.5%. So you're not eligible for a 2% COLA, you're only eligible for whatever CPI was for that year. If you go back a few years when CPI was higher, let's say in a year CPI was 3%, your COLA increase is limited to 2%, but that extra 1% gets banked or put into a reserve, and it could be used to fill in the gaps in subsequent years when CPI is less than 2%. So for this member who retired in 2012, the CPI has been pretty low for the last few years. So if you retired probably in the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, you may not be getting a full 2% increase just because CPI has not been at that level. If you retired before 2012, you've probably got some COLA bank money that could be applied to supplement the CPI. Long answer, but your guarantee is not 2%. Your guarantee is the 2% if the CPI warrants that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, I have a couple questions for me here. One person asked, can you still purchase service years? Okay. Now, the answer is yes, perhaps. If you are, this can only be done if you are actively working, and there are different types of time that are eligible depending on the tier that you are in. We'd be happy to let you know what is available to you. We do have a feature on the member portal that is being rolled out next week that would provide that information to you, but you're absolutely welcome to give us a call, and staff would let you know what you are eligible for, and we have an existing tool on the website where you can submit a request to purchase time. Some folks are eligible to purchase an additional 5 years that were not actually worked, and then other folks, most folks are eligible to purchase time that was when they were on leave, such as maternity leave or when they might have been out with an illness. Okay? Thank you. Now, I have a couple questions that are related to healthcare, which is no surprise because I could stand here for another hour or two and talk about healthcare. But I shan't today. But we will do that at another time, and I would absolutely welcome anyone who has more of those questions to come back. One person asked, for retirees that chose option C, so this is for city employees if you're familiar with the A, B, and C option for folks that retired after 2012. For retirees that chose option C for their medical retirement benefit, is there the possibility that SD-SURS would take over the management of those funds? No. That is not being discussed at this time, and my understanding is that as that was negotiated with the unions, they wanted that to be handled separately, but healthcare is evolving and there could be future conversations in upcoming years where things might change around. But for now, we work directly with the agencies that provide those reimbursements, and we can answer your questions if you have questions about being reimbursed for your specific type of healthcare. Now, related to that, someone was asking sort of a more philosophical question about a concern that many people have where the costs of benefits are increasing and then the coverage items are decreasing, and it's a struggle for a lot of people. I really do appreciate that. And the question here specifically, Liza, sorry, I didn't realize that was taking an interesting twist. Okay, so let me back up. With these increasing healthcare costs, would it be possible for portions of the asset profits from SD SERS to be diverted to help pay for these health plans?
That's
And Elaine would
That's
love
not
to
Eliza
answer that.
Klein.
I can answer that one too, but please go ahead.
No, it's not. The SERS plan assets can only be used to pay for the benefits under the retirement plan, and that would be the benefits that are set forth in the municipal code. Retiree health is funded through I believe, the general fund out of the city for city employees, and for port and airport employees. Obviously, it's also coming out of whatever general fund the port and the airport have. But years ago, the retiree health funds were paid out of retirement plan assets. That was one of the failures that the IRS found when we went through the voluntary correction process. We were required to stop that practice and to have a complete separation between retirement fund assets and what is used to pay retiree health. Even the processing that our staff does of retiree health reimbursements for city employees has to be billed directly to the city. It cannot come from trust fund assets, so that can never happen.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for ensuring I asked the correct person that question. Another question on health care is the person was stating that they found that the health reimbursement process is complex and we're having some difficulties with that. We want to help you with that. So please let us know if you have specific questions. You can even come into our office and meet with one of our health staff members, and they will help you fill out the paperwork and make sure you know how to do that going forward. We don't want it to be a difficulty for you each month if you're filling out a reimbursement. We'd like to help you with that. Now, I'd like to direct a quick question to Mark. Mark, the question is, can you please explain how we determine the drop interest rate, both the active and then the annuity rate?
Sure. When a member enters drop, they enter drop for up to 5 years. And historically, when you've looked at what kind of a rate could you earn on money if you invested it for no more than 5 years? If you went to the bank and said, I've got some money, I'd like to give it to you, but I need it back in 5 years. What's the best I could do over a 5-year rate? Well, as you would know, banks won't guarantee anything like 7.25% interest rate, which is our assumed rate of return. So in 2008 or 2009, our board took a similar approach, and they said if someone's actively in drop and they're looking to invest those monies, what's the best you could get over a 5-year term? It's basically guaranteed. There's no risk to you because you get the money back. So our board came up with a composite of 3 different indices that are market-driven indices tied to what 5-year money would be. And that's how he came up with the drop active rate, which is currently a little over 1%, like 1.3. Then the second question is once you retire, you can take your drop balance in the form of a lump sum, or you could take it in the form of an annuity over 20 years or your lifespan. So once again, our board took a look at, for a risk-free guaranteed rate of return on your drop annuity, what could you get for 20 years out? And so we looked again at market-driven indices tied to 20-year rates, and that's how we came up with the current drop annuity rate that's roughly around 3.5 or 3.6. I know those are a lot lower than what we've been earning historically, and you know that it's lower than what we're expecting to earn every year, which is 7.25, but our investment program, as broken record, you've heard, is tied to extremely long-term rates of return. We invest money for up to 60 years for some people, and there is an inherent amount of risk on that. And when you're in the drop program, the monies we're managing are not subject to risk. They're guaranteed for a shorter period of time. That's why we use lower interest rates.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to do a couple of these quickly because I want to make sure we get your questions answered, but I've also promised you a certain amount of time that you would be here before lunch, so I want to keep you moving. One question is, we had discussed the new pension system during our presentation today that we have implemented to best utilize the overall operations of our system. The question was the new pension system and the website improvements, were those put out for a competitive bid and RFP? Yes, absolutely. We follow all the same rules that are prescribed by the city, and all of this was discussed extensively, and some might say ad nauseum, at our board meetings with detailed reports and then a lengthy discussion at each board meeting going over how this was done. So thank you for that question. Another person asked about reciprocity, how you can move between participating government agencies. The person said, is there another way to ask the employer, do you have reciprocity with the city of San Diego, because they didn't seem to know reciprocity? What concerns me about this question is, if they don't know what reciprocity is, that might mean they don't have reciprocity with us. It has to be another government agency, and I would just make sure you're speaking to the human resources or payroll person and ask them who's running their pension system, and then certainly give us a call and we would be glad to help you with that. We can walk you through all the pieces of reciprocity. Then I had a very good question asked by a couple people. If you're already retired, been retired from some time, and you had, of course, selected your beneficiaries when you retired, but your spouse has since passed away, are you able to name someone else as a beneficiary? This is an important question that we get a lot. The short answer is, you have to understand the difference in the benefit between someone who is a continuance, who will receive a continuation of a portion of your pension for the rest of their lifetime, and then a one-time beneficiary, which is often the death benefit. So if you had selected your spouse for that continuance of your benefit and they pass away, that cannot be passed on to anyone else, okay? But at any time, if you change your mind about who is going to receive the beneficiary portion, such as the $2,000 death benefit, that can be updated, and you can do that on our member portal. And again, with the beneficiaries, want to make sure that you understand that. Please do give us a call. We'd be happy to go over that in detail. It's always good to plan ahead for that. Now, I had a question regarding tax withholding that goes into some intricate detail, and so I would encourage you that if you have any specific questions about your own account, please do give us a call this week and make sure that we can get your specific question answered. Now, the last question that I have here, which someone who is carefully listening to me and following my instructions, and I really appreciate it. I was asking for constructive feedback on ideas of additional improvements that we might be able to make. The person said, is it possible to receive an email when my pension benefit statement is available each month with a link to it? That's a good question. At this moment, we don't have that feature, but I would be very glad to consider that, and then we would share this information via our various means, such as the website, the email notifications, and through the retiree associations, and our quarterly newsletter to let you know what improvements are out there. So if you have any other suggestions like that, please do let me know. I love this. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for all your excellent questions and for your time and attention here. Please do, on the way out, stop and visit with the tables that we have out there for your very helpful information regarding the portal or the city's partners or the retiree associations. And thank you all so much for coming down.
Yes, thank you.